I hate saying helping people, but being in a position to be a really good friend that cares, like with everybody. That's what I want to do. If you're inviting to that, cool. Then we can be friends. If you're not, that's cool too. I have plenty of opportunity to make good friends.
You're listening to the Blacktop Banter Podcast, the premier podcast in the asphalt industry, made for contractors with contractors.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Blacktop Banter. Very excited for this podcast today. Been a long time coming, I believe, and great acquaintance of mine for a long time, and we've finally been able to connect a lot more recently, and here we are on Blacktop Banter. So without further ado, I will introduce my longtime friend, Kevin Gray. What's up, man?
What's up, dude? Man, thank you for having me on here. I've been watching your journey for a long time now, probably more than half a decade at least, and to be sitting here with you after being a part of it to some extent, but watching from the sidelines probably more so. It's just I'm grateful for this opportunity, man, because you have an awesome brand. You are an awesome human being. You have an amazing following, and your movement is a very powerful one in our industry. So thank you.
Hey, man, I appreciate that. Thanks so much. Yeah, I have a feeling like part of it, right? Like people are like, man, I've been following along. I'm like, yeah, what part were you following?
Yeah,
like because it was either going to go this way, or like it was going to be a beautiful disaster. And people are like, man, did you see that? Dude, it's crazy trying to do something that like hasn't been done before. Like I never expected that, dude. I was always a follower, not a leader. Like
Man.
I just wanted to follow. Like somebody says, yep, do it this way. So okay, I'll do it that way. The problem was at one point I realized, shit, this is my path. This is the reason why I have these traits. This is what God wants me to do. Awesome. And I fought every which way, dude, I just wanted to be on the radar, to be able to be around tables and have conversations with people.
Yeah.
Or like people I look up to, people that are more successful, rooms I've been trying to get into. The problem was I feel my path was predestined before me. And once I met it, it was like, no, that's not why you're here. You're here for this, right? So it's been very cool, and thankfully, you and I are in that same circle, man. So it's been fun, dude. And you've seen it, like you know me probably more than what the average person that follows along goes through when they witness, right? You've seen me like have some major issues, right? Major family stuff and major life issues, major business issues, major personal issues, and dude, we just keep chugging. We just keep pushing along and whatnot. So very cool to share not only the successes, but those with you as well, because I think what happens is you share personal parts, the tough parts. It makes the sweeter parts even sweeter when you're with somebody who knows what happened, because they genuinely are celebrating with you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I think you being able to show up, or anyone that's able to show up and talk more so about the failures and the things that didn't go right and the struggles and the personal stuff. And dude, I remember when we were chatting on Instagram, it's probably been 7-8 years ago now, when it was just you and a broken down pickup truck and a piece of crap looking seal coat rig on the back. And I wasn't much further ahead with my paving operation with broken down crew, broken down equipment, used equipment, and it was just you and two dudes. You're in Wisconsin, I'm in Kentucky. Somehow, some way, maybe somebody had a plan. We found each other and were able to connect. And I remember I remember back that long ago, like you were one of the most, repetitious people that would show up in my DMs, or that we would communicate, and we would talk about life. We would talk about business. We would talk about, customers, whatever, dude. And like, we kind of grew up together to some extent.
I think
in this
so.
industry.
I think some of it for sure.
Yeah, no doubt,
sure, man. Yeah, it was one of the meetings, right? Like before, like Blacktop Banner had just kind of got, not even Blacktop Banner, just me making content. And we had connected a couple. You're like, hey, you're gonna be in Louisville. I was actually there for Equip Expo or GIE Expo then. Like, hey, let's meet up. We meet, right? And then there's this feeling of like, okay, now what do we do with this, right? Like here's two guys that want to do something in the industry. What do we do with this? And it kind of just sits there at base level. it's like the first sparks, right? Like you don't see
Yeah.
a big flame. There's not a lot going on, but you got to have some of those first
No.
sparks. Because I
Right.
was like, you're like, so what? Where are you going with this? And I was like,
Right.
shit, dude, I have no idea, right? I
Just
just
trying
know
to
that
survive, man.
I'm like, I'm just supposed to be making videos and sealing, I
Yeah.
guess, right? So,
Yeah.
now I have 2 broken down trucks and one really badass seal rig. I will say that.
Right.
We just brought home the Blacktop Banter Edition KM last night, and Eli's hopped on it and was lifting lids and pulling levers and all types of stuff on it, taking pictures with it. So, yeah, what a crazy, you know what, me saying that right now with what you said just created a crazy contrast in my brain, right?
Yep.
Like we were there, and now I brought home the Blacktop Banner Edition seal coat rig that it is sold worldwide. It's stupid. It's stupid. It's stupid.
But I think it's important because I don't know how many times I've either been flipping through pictures on my phone or like I'll get a memory reminder, and that picture of you and I in the Galt House in Louisville.
Yep.
And I remember in that moment how excited I was and fortunate to meet you finally for the first time. Like I was like, and you can see it on both of our faces in that picture. Yeah. It's like, I don't know what this is, or I don't know why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling meeting this other human being, but like there's something here.
I know why. And looking back now, right? The whole reason I started doing that stuff in the community is because I felt alone, like alone, right? And even when I met the guys at GIE Expo and they became friends of mine, now I had 2 really cool things. Keith Kalfas, who I met when I met you for the first time, spoke at our event yesterday at KM International.
Yeah.
Right. Like that relationship went and bloomed and he crushed it. Seeing him grow, he's got 100,000 YouTube subscribers plus now, got his plaque, it's hanging on his wall. And when I first met him, he was trying to figure out YouTube. Just like, dude, I'm trying to figure out the algorithm. I'm trying to figure it out. I'll never focus as much as he did on it. He'll crush me at that forever. But we were lost, right? And even when I became friends with those guys I met at that expo, they still weren't my guys. I was hijacking their community and plugging in and developing friends and seeing cool stuff happen. It wasn't until we started ours that something really changed, and it was tough, right? Like you and I, we were in those groups and stuff early on. Like we were searching for diamonds in the desert, and the desert was just brutal. It stung you. It sucked. Those groups, some of them are still like that. What we did was befriend the good ones, right? And create a better circle for ourselves. So that's why we were excited. I didn't know it back then, but that's why you were excited, because you weren't alone anymore, and you didn't know what to do with that relationship. All you knew was, okay, all I could think about was not being alone. Not what was I going to do once I wasn't alone anymore, right? In this journey. So
and I knew even then, Marvin, and it's been like this forever. Like I knew in that moment, and even the moments leading up to that, as our friendship and relationship was evolving, that it was never transactional. It was never, what have you done for me lately? What can I do for you? What can you do for me? It was a couple of dudes that were in an industry full of other guys and gals that were very, secretive of their information, or very possessive, or thought they were better than you because they'd been, they'd figured it out quicker or whatever. And
they needed that for
they
their
needed
identity,
that,
right? Their whole identity was being better than somebody else.
Exactly.
And I could give a shit about it. But you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
And it was someone I knew that I could, that I could trust, that had been through similar things that I had gone through, had similar aspirations that I had, and that we were willing to help each other.
Correct. I think that's one thing to point out that you hit the nail on the head about. It never was intended to be transactional, and let's be honest, never has there been any transaction. It's just you and I being friends, right? It doesn't matter if you were my friend and not in the asphalt industry. I would still have the same conversations with you, right? Like there's nothing that has transpired abnormally or transactionally, which I think you can probably talk on this some. I think that's what people expect for the most part, or used to at least expect in our industry. Like the only reason somebody talks to somebody is to get something, right?
Yeah.
Or give 100%. Something. And that's so stupid, man. Like you and I know the more that we have communicated and expanded our network of friends, the better we have done. Right?
Yes.
Way
Yeah.
way more than trying to just ask for advice. Like
Yeah.
us being
Yeah.
friends, it's people you can rely on. It's changed. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, we get the reciprocative benefit from that. And then, by the way, what feels even better than winning to some extent yourself is seeing all the people that you have around you now winning at a high, and not just winning, but like winning at business, but like winning at life and figuring out like what it's like to get through a struggle, to face adversity, to build resiliency, to have those breakthrough aha moments, like, oh my God, like you had, like, how am I ever just going to be this kid from Wisconsin that seal coats driveways? I mean,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you've
Where
got
does
to
that
put
ever go?
yeah, right.
Yeah. Yeah. I think,
But
and I think a lot because I'll say I think before everything. But,
you know,
the crazy part about that whole thing that you just mentioned is that the better that your friend does that is in business that you're into, there's two ways to go with that. Either you're jealous
yep,
and your relationship starts to spiral and unwind because of envy and jealousy, which
hmm
me, never ever. All I care is if my friends are happy, and if they want more profit, let's get them more profit if that's going to make
yeah,
them happy. For me, it doesn't necessarily revolve around that. But it does, my happiness does compound when my friends succeed, because I know
oh yeah,
that my friendship with them, which is sometimes a tool, right, for my success in my life, to relieve some stress in my life,
yeah,
I can now use that as a resource to help me, right? And then when I win in an area, I can reciprocate that back and be like, "Yeah, man, what were you wondering about?" And
yeah.
that should get you hype. That should get
It
you
does,
excited,
it
right? If
does,
you're not comparing your journey to everyone else, when your friends win, it actually makes your journey easier,
yeah,
right? And
it,
that's
it
all I
does.
care about, dude. I want as less stress and strife in my life as I can have, right? Unless
100%.
I'm doing it intentionally to grow. But
Yeah, right.
it's the unforeseen shit that I don't want to do.
That's right.
I'm okay with cutting weight or having to run or, hire new sales guy or hire more people. I'm cool with that when I do it, but it's the unforeseen stuff that just is the brutal stuff. And our friendship, right, has helped me in that area for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man.
So tell us a little bit, because this is going to be our first interaction on Blacktop Banter. Tell us a little bit about Kevin Gray. Kevin Gray growing up. Kevin Gray, how did Kevin
Man.
Gray get from a small little pipsqueak of a child to Kevin Gray, the massively muscle bound tall human that overshadows me with a hug every time we meet up anywhere?
Oh, everything I got is I'll blame it on genetics. That's all I got to say about
Okay, that's cool.
it. Breed,
I would probably agree. Yeah, I can see
genetics,
that.
and my higher calling. That's all. Everything else just happened, right? We
Sure.
just this is the end result, and it's been a work in progress the entire time. I can assure you that. But man, I'm just at my roots, at my core, I'm a good old country boy from Kentucky, man. Born and raised here. My mom and dad. My dad is early in his career. They were both teachers. My mom was a teacher for her entire career. Taught all grade levels. Ended up at the high school level. My dad was a middle school basketball, golf coach, and a math teacher. So all that to say, my dad eventually got into the heavy highway construction industry. He got into working for a company called Kentucky Guardrail for a period of years, and then he started his own business down in London, Kentucky, and it eventually ended up on the association side in Frankfort, Kentucky, for the Kentucky Association of Highway Contractors,
Hmm.
and then later the Kentucky Crushed Stone Association. So
Hmm.
interesting that I ended up in the construction space. But growing up, I was just I had a great upbringing. We were probably middle class at best. School teachers and construction. He was
Yep.
more on the management side of construction. But my grassroots were driving around job sites with my dad in his F-150, man. I still remember that tan and dark with the dark brown stripe down the side of it, man. Those were some of the happiest memories of my life, was riding around doing construction and guy things and going to baseball practice, football practice, wrestling practice, going playing golf with dad, just kind of growing up in that fashion. So, education was important. Obviously, both parents were teachers. Athletics were a huge piece of my life. I actually had an opportunity to probably have been a Division I collegiate football player, but got injured my senior year of high school.
Dang.
And that was that was a crossroads for me, because once I figured out I was pretty good at that sport.
Yeah.
Like I dumped a lot of my middle school and high school years into getting really good at that. When I got voted to the all state team my 8th grade year and got invited to a university for a training day or whatever you call it. So, man, I dumped everything into that. I was going to play pro football. Like that
Dude.
at one point in my life was my dream. That was
Man,
my
I
everything.
didn't even know you were a punter.
Yeah. I got a big leg, right? Like Pat McAfee.
Crazy. What position did you play for real?
I would have been a punter. I would have done anything to get in the league. I played offensive guard and middle linebacker.
Okay.
So,
ooh, that's a good combo.
Yeah.
Protector.
Little defensive end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But a piece of that story too, by the way, and I think it's important, I was adopted at birth. So my biological parents, my dad was 16, my mom was 19 when they had me. So now being a 42-year-old man and learning the things I've learned and gaining the wisdom that I have, and knowing what the odds are of even being born, conceived in the first place, and then not for them to not have made a different decision, in 1981 when they're just kids themselves, for me to even be here.
Yep.
Like there has to be some kind of purpose.
Yeah, you and I connect on that one.
And
my dad was 17, my mom was 18. I was born. My grandmother adopted me, right?
Yeah.
And for a long time, I was like, "What the heck? Like, well, what's the deal?" And then later on, I came to that same revelation, like I could just not exist.
Yes.
And trust me, there's been times in my life when that seemed like the better option, right? Like when I was like,
dude.
man, this is tough. I'd been better if I just never was around. But you get past that and get through that, get your mind right, and you get over that, and you realize it is very much important that you're here. But same thing, man. Like same type of upbringing.
Yeah, I remember we were sitting in Pittsburgh just a few weeks back, sitting in the boardroom while everybody else was getting lunch, and we got 45 minutes of quiet time, which was I reflected on that conversation a lot since then. By the way, like just the opportunity to get that time with you was really special for me, because we weren't talking business, nothing was transact. We were just two dudes talking about life and why we're here and what our calling is, what our purpose is, and what our upbringings look like. And I have fought that damn purpose piece my entire life. And when I lost football, I'll take it back to there. Like I was like, well, God's a piece of shit. How could he do this to me? My best friend died, a year and a half later. I'm like, there was a decade there where I was lost, man. I was like, I didn't have a clue who I was supposed to be. All I've ever been told growing up, because this is how my parents were raised. My mom was one of 5 that grew up on a corn and soybean farm in northwestern Ohio, and my dad's dad was a coal miner and fought in the army and fought in World War II, and so all they knew was coming from their roots, from their upbringing, was like, get good grades. Go to get good grades in school, go to a good college, get a degree, get a good job.
Yep.
And for me, that's all I knew to do, and that was the path I was on.
Yep. Which is fine for 95% of the population.
Yeah. And it just, I took a job with Wells Fargo right out of college, doing commercial insurance that I hated. It didn't resound with me. I was still pretty immature at that point too, if I'm being honest. Like I didn't take work very seriously. I'd kind of floated through college at that because I was lost. I mean, that whole
Yeah.
period of my 20s, like I was like, I don't know
You
what
had
I want.
direction, then direction got pulled out from under you, right?
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
still
And then
want to go
nothing,
that direction, but just can't.
still wanted to go.
You can only
Yeah.
float. You're just
Yeah. I even thought
doldrums.
even after the doctors told me, you can never play football again, I got to my junior year in college, and I was like, I'm gonna see if I can pass the medical clearance. I'm gonna see if I can walk on. Like I
Yeah.
was, and the doctor's like, if you take one more high impact hit, you're gonna be paralyzed the rest of your life. Like I was still willing to chance that to some degree in my sick head, like because that's all I
crazy.
want to do. You know,
It's
like
crazy.
I was
Dude.
like, fuck it, I'm gonna pass this medical exam and I'm gonna get back on the field.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so
Mm.
it wasn't until I got involved with what was known as Asphalt Driveways Company. My now ex-wife's family had started that business. Her grandfather started it in 1959. Her aunt and uncle ran it from 80 to 2011. In 2009, 10, that's when I was about to lose my second job out of college because I wasn't engaged. The industry I was in wasn't great. That was big recession time in our country.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you who remember,
That was the male gigolo industry, or what
Yeah,
industry was that one?
yeah.
Okay, cool.
I was actually, after the commercial insurance gig, I was the executive director of the Kentuckiana Masonry Institute, which was a trade association for the brick and block industry. So I'm basically going to, you didn't know that one, did you?
Hell no.
Yeah. So I'm going to architects, engineers, developers, designers, builders, and trying to promote brick and for them to use brick and block in their designs and their drawings. And it was a membership of people that either produced brick or block, or the mason contractors, or their vendor suppliers. So
Damn,
I did
you're a
that for about,
lobbyist. You're a brick lobbyist.
I was slanging bricks, dude.
Yeah, you were slinging bricks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when it didn't work out in the insurance world,
Yeah.
I started slinging bricks.
Yeah. Well, I may have done that legally and illegally at some point in my life.
Yeah, fair enough. Oh, shoot. Man. Put that on your
Neither
resume.
one of them were very fruitful, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, I bet.
But
High risk industry, but
high
fruitful
risk.
nonetheless. Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah. Like all that.
Cool.
Excuse me, but this opportunity to buy this, and it was, by the way, the wife's aunt and uncle. The uncle died a couple years prior to 2009. And the aunt had 19 back surgeries and was crippled over. So basically the inmates were running the prison. The business was doing, I think in its best years, it was doing $600, $700, $800 a year.
Okay.
And I think the year we ended up taking over, it did like 400,000 the year prior. Like it was either going to declare bankruptcy or sell, or like it was done. Like,
yeah.
And it was like, I've always at least known I didn't want to necessarily work for someone. Like my vision, my dream, my aspirations. How can I get there as quick as I would like to, working for someone else? Like, it's like I just can't. It's kind of that rich dad, poor dad mentality. Although my parents were very successful in their careers, and we were middle, maybe upper middle class there towards the end. Like there was a certain cap on that. Like you can only do so much. You can only go on this kind of vacation with your kids. You can only give this much back to your community. You can only have this much freedom to do other things in your lives that you may want to do, whether it be with church or with your friends or like whatever, because you have to work.
Yeah.
You have no freedoms.
You got to ask somebody else for time.
Yeah. Can I have a week off to go spend time with my family at the beach? Yeah, but you got to work 2 extra weeks next year to get for that. So I was like, I don't want to be a part of that system. I didn't know what kind of level or of entrepreneur I wanted to be. I didn't know necessarily what industry I wanted to be. When this asphalt business came about, I was like, I remember riding around with my dad in his F-150 when he was in the construction industry. And I remember it that's what I tapped into. I remember as a little kid how good that made me feel. How proud I was of my dad, how much I respected him, how much his integrity meant to me. And not only him, but all the men and women that were involved in the industry, his peers, his colleagues that I got to meet as a young boy and as an adolescent. Like something just resonated with me with those people. Like they carried themselves with integrity and respect and commanded a presence. And by the way, I was a small, young boy, adolescent when I would meet these people, but I remember the way they would make me feel every time I would interact with them. I was like,
Okay, yeah.
man, I jive with these folks.
Yeah.
Like, I can get down, like these people care about me, and I'm a 12-year-old boy here at this meeting with my dad.
They hold themselves
These
different.
people are cool.
Yeah.
I like these asphalt and construction people, So to me, it was like, let's do it. Let's give it a shot. So we took out $100,000 loan and bought a bunch of broken down equipment and a whatever kind of crew it was back in 2011, and off we went, dude.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, man, it's interesting, man. I mean, when you think about it, it's like that. Yeah, I try to explain it to people in a certain way because on paper, we look like we're stupid. Like we look like we're dumb for doing this. It's completely unsafe.
Yeah.
It's high risk, right? Even worse than your other high risk venture that you were into.
Yeah.
Like if it doesn't work, you've wasted tons of time. If it doesn't work and you keep going at it and you don't succeed, but you make enough to survive, you're wasting crucial time in your retirement. Like anybody who knows anything.
Oh yeah, dude.
They're like, this is dumb. You shouldn't do that. But they
that first
also
decade, I wasn't putting any money into my retirement in my first decade. Like,
I'm trying to make it up.
I'm trying to make payroll next week. What retirement are you talking about, bro?
Yep. I think it has all the things that you shouldn't do that you learn through school, right? School teaches you to do everything except what we're doing right here and jumping in and getting into debt. Like now they'll tell you to get into debt 100,000, but for a student loan so you can get a good job. Not get into debt for 100,000 so you can turn it into an $8 million business. They're like, no, we don't.
That's
do
not
that.
safe.
That's not safe. That's not
safe.
And there's no education on how to do that. There's no education on how to do that. So
that's surprising. Isn't that surprising?
It is. Yeah, it's a big problem.
We don't teach people how to manage money.
You've seen Eli,
teach people how to be entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
We don't teach people how to network and build community and build relationships and become part of something bigger than themselves. We teach you how to be a good boy, go to school, get good grades, get in debt to your government, go provide and be a useful member of society.
Clock in, clock out. Clock in, clock out. Clock in, clock out.
For 50 years.
What's that?
For 50 years.
Yeah, for 50 years. That's all.
And then you die.
Yeah, and then you're done. Yep.
Go do that, please, for us. Right. Thank you.
Yep. That's the same thing with, to some extent, with Wiscote, right? Like all I ever thought was, all I knew, my goals, right? This is where I hit my doldrums. Yours was when you was focused on football and then it got taken away and then you're like, yeah, I floated. All I ever thought was, I want to get married, be a really good dad. Because I didn't have, my dad was around. My dad is still in my life. He wasn't an excellent dad, right? Yep. I wanted a family, and that's it. Like, and I didn't want to have bills. Bills, I didn't even think about bills, but when they came, I was like, yep, I don't like these either. Let's add that to the list. So all I want to do is create a business that did that. And at 25, only making, $85,000 a year. We bought our house for $25,000, our very first home, which is stupid to think about.
Wow.
But it was still left over from the recession. But at $85,000 a year, I did that, and then I did like 90 some the next year, dude. This is the craziest thing to like put the thought together and have it come out of my mouth, but. That was the worst time emotionally of my life when I had succeeded. Because I literally was like, oh shit, I have 40 more years of doing this. And this is not fun. Building it was fun. Getting there, it wasn't fun. Like I came back one day, and I tell this story a bunch on the podcast, but I'll probably tell it until I'm dead. But I came back and I must have been thinking about this. And you know me now. I think very deeply. I have a great emotional intelligence. I'm really philosophical. And I try to figure that type of stuff out, think about scenario situations, how to get through them. I never was like that until I was quote unquote successful. And where I was very successful. In my family, no one had ever graduated high school.
Yeah.
No one had owned a home. So I was very successful in that line too.
Yeah.
Now I had seen the rest of the world and realized I'm not amazingly successful, but I was for my goal. I came back one day and it was the first day that I had actually tried to think about what I had been feeling for the last week or 2 weeks. And that was the fact that this was easy. It was really easy. It was easy for me to get there. All I had to do was apparently make videos of myself and of my work. And now I had plenty of work. And all I had to do was just answer the phone, quote the job, get the job, go do the job, come back. And I was just going to do this. And I was going to do this for the rest of my life, over and over. And I came back. And I've been thinking about it. And I walked through. Kelly's cooking. I walked through the door and she's like, "What's wrong?" She must have been able to read it. And I was like, if I have to do this again and I end up doing this every day for the rest of my life, I'm going to be miserable. I'm going to be miserable in this life. And she was like, "I thought maybe your back hurt or something."
Yeah.
Right. It's like she regretted asking the question because she wasn't ready for me to say something like that.
Yeah.
And that's a tough thing. Like that has been the basis of Kelly and I's conflict that we have in our relationship, is because something changed in me that day. And I think about that stuff all the time, right? All the time I think about that now. The old me doesn't even exist. That naive, young, innocent guy that was just like, I'm going to work. I can get a truck. We can go play golf tonight. He's gone. He doesn't exist anymore. But something else was born. And then you and I meet. And then all of a sudden we realize these thoughts and these feelings, we can funnel them into a direction, right? And you started to do that with ADC.
Yeah.
Yeah. So explain what happened once that process started.
Well, it was getting around people like you and other people, like genuine people that were also on the same wavelength, carrying themselves with the same energies and goals and visions, but more importantly, their morals, their ethics, their values, the things they wanted for themselves and their families, and the things they held in high regard. And a lot of them weren't rooted in financial prowess. They were rooted in things like doing the next right thing and helping your fellow man and being able to give back and creating cultures to where not only the owner and visionaries and leaders of the companies are going to become successful and win and get all the stuff, but to elevate everyone that we can surround ourselves with, whether it be the $15 an hour shovel man or whoever's on this journey with us, whoever's in the boat. Let's make how can we help all of our lives become better?
The byproduct of that was ADC grew, right? Like when you were there and we started doing that. Same thing with Wiscoat. Trust me, if all we made was 80 grand right now, buddy, I'd be coming asking you, hey, what are we doing? Because this ain't, we're done. Yeah. Over here. Right.
Well, and it's weird how it happened, man. It's probably around the time we really started interacting and the time that I got involved with Brian and his vision and Top Contractor School and really starting to understand. And I had some good mentors early on in my career that taught me a lot, that probably helped some of my learning curve. Thank God. I had my wife had an uncle down in Atlanta that had a very successful paving operation. Joe Doherty, who owns Louisville Paving here in Louisville, that's a $350 million construction company now. He was third generation owner also, and he took that over, I don't know, 25 years ago, and it was doing $8 million a year, and now it's doing 350. And let me share you something. I have this. He shared this with me, I don't know, 10 years ago. I don't even see it.
Let me see.
He said, this is the key.
Old school culture. Leader.
Old school culture had the leader at the top.
Rank and file. Put them at the top. Have your mid-management. And you be at the bottom of the funnel.
Yeah.
New school culture.
He said old school culture, these people worked for them. He said, you and the men, you worked for these guys.
Yep.
You worked for the team. All of your ambition, motivation, decision making, clarity needs to be for them, not for your selfish wants, needs, or desires.
Yeah.
And by the way, the byproduct is the companies grow, the culture gets better, the branding gets better, the mark. Like we went until I started figuring what culture really looked like, and I didn't understand that until I got around. I really started tapping into Joe Doherty and people like you and people like Brian. We were doing, I bought the company. It was doing $500,000 a year. When I bought, I'm like, I'm going to do $1 million next year, just full of piss and vinegar and ego and and we did 1.2 the next year, and I probably lost $200,000 in the process. But by God, we hit the goal.
You did it, bud.
And next year we did 1.8, and the year after that we did 2, and then we did 2.1, and then we did 2.4, and then we did 4, and then we did 5. Then something happened. It's like, holy shit. These customers want to do business with us. These people want to come work with us.
Yep.
People want to be, what is this? Oh,
something
it's this
changed.
Energy. Something changed. I would say that's where my leadership style was born and started evolving. When I started understanding that it wasn't about me, wasn't about my $1 million goal, which cost us $250,000 to do. And I started putting my energy and efforts back into our people and reinvesting in the things they needed and reinvesting into our community and building our brand and our culture and our, getting serious about core values and not allowing people to hang around the business that weren't willing to do the 10 things that we held in high regard that required zero talent.
Yep.
Like if you can't get to work on time, show up with a good attitude, be coachable. We had a list of 10 things they required zero talent. I didn't care if you were,
we got that hanging at Wiscote right on the men's lockers.
Dude, how powerful is that, man? Like, I don't care if you're a 30-year experienced operator or a kid off the street. If you can't do these 30-year-old experienced guy, you can't be a part of this, man.
Yeah. And sometimes they just can't. To be honest with you, just can't.
Yeah.
Like they just don't have the capacity, or they're so set in their ways that they can't, right? Like for me, this about me, I ask a lot of questions still. Yeah. Like I want to know, I want to be dumb. I want to be the dumbest person in the room every time. Right. Yeah. And I don't do that by being dumb. I just do that by constantly growing. And then I get around people that are higher up. Okay. Yeah. I'll move up. I'm the dumbest person in the room again. Okay. Yeah. I'm the dumbest person in the room again. What that has done, having that mentality of being a student, always learning, whether it's about business or life or whatever, you've seen this from me. I have met some amazing people. I have been I shook hands with Jocko Willink a month ago, right? Good. Got to talk with him for a minute.
Good.
That's the craziest. Good. Yeah.
Good.
Good.
Things are tough.
Yeah. Good. It's tough. Good. Your crew lead leaves. Good. You went bald? Good. Yeah.
Your rig broke down? Good.
Good. Yep. Dude, and then we were sponsoring NASCAR trucks, right, in races. And just, dude, it's just stupid stuff. But it's because of being the dumbest person in the room, doing that funnel, that upside down pyramid that you just shown, right, where you flip it on its head to where you think when you get into this and you get to a certain level of success, you did have it this way, where they were working for you and you got to hear it, right? But then when it flipped this way, you realize if you want to go this route, you're going to have to work harder. You're going to work all the time. Your life is going to be filled with work, but it's going to be way more rewarding. You're going to have a great time doing it. You're going to build better relationships doing it for the right thing, not on this one where it buys me whatever I want materialistically. But this one where everybody above is grateful that you exist and that you're at the bottom. That one, money can't buy that stuff at the bottom for you. Right?
No, dude. No. And all the things that happen in your life when you flip that on its head are just a byproduct. Because, by the way, you've got to be the ultimate example at that point, too.
So all those things like you're talking about, the way we grew up, bad stuff
Yeah.
that happened in our life, that stuff had to happen for us to be able to be the person at the bottom. Dude, if someone
100%.
watches it with no sound and they see me going like this, and
Yeah.
like this, and like this, it's gonna be
Yeah.
awful. But yeah,
I know
I mean,
it.
for real, like we had to go through that stuff, and that's hard to wrestle with. That's what you and
Yeah.
I, most of the time, our conversations are about, is like,
Yeah.
because the worse things get for us, the better things are on the other side. And that's a hard thing to wrestle with, knowing that that is
Oh,
more than likely the way your life is going to be for the lifetime
yeah.
of it. It scares me because
Yeah.
you and I have been through tough stuff, right? And it progressively has got tougher, these things. If we're going to continue to grow, Kev, imagine the hard stuff that's coming down our pike yet, right?
Yeah.
And knowing that we have to get through it to be the better person on the other side. That's a test, man. It's a test by the
It is a
Almighty, I feel
test.
like.
It is a test. And it's like, okay, those things absolutely happen until I surrendered and accepted to the fact that these things they didn't happen to me. Like poor pitiful me, these things happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
No, these things had to happen to me so I could learn the lesson from that and
Mhm.
become the man that I'm supposed to be in this lifetime. And you're right, dude. Like as big as both of our visions and missions are, and both of our willingness, and I think it's both of our callings, honestly, is to help other people. I mean, when I get down to like what it is, I think I'm here to be useful to other people. Like, and the things, I don't know that I've even scratched the surface on the hard things I'm going to have to go through that I've been through.
It's
I mean,
scary.
there's certain things I've been through that I don't know how I'm still sitting here today.
Same.
Like it's gotten that. Yeah. Same for you, bro. But like,
It's scary, man.
but we made it, you know,
We did.
There's a reason we made it.
Yep.
We probably both shouldn't have been born if we're getting
for
real with it.
sure. For sure.
You
Yeah. I
know?
think about knowing what we know, right? About the hard things and how we had to go through them. And it is scary because I can imagine in my mind what would have to happen for me to really break down again. And it's bad stuff. But
Oh yeah.
in our circle and who we pay attention to in the world as well, there are stories of people who have experienced those things and they're still around, they're still alive, and they're still making it.
Yeah.
So there's hope there, right? Hope, that word has been coming out of my mouth more in the last year than ever. And I thought I knew what hope was before. Now I feel like I know what hope is. I wouldn't have known what hope really is or forgiveness and what it is if I would not have had the things happen to me that have happened to me in my life. And I'm a praying man. I pray for wisdom. I can't be, you and I spoke about this. This is what I remember now about me and you speaking in the conference room, right, at TPG. We can't be wiser without going through things that make us learn. And we can't be made stronger by not being broken down to be weak. Even when you want to build muscle, right, and play middle linebacker and guard, you have to break your muscle down and make it weak before it can grow back stronger, right?
Amen.
And that's what life is going to do. I hope at some point, wherever we're created from, he goes, that's enough.
Yeah.
Good. You're right where you're right where I want you. But until then, I have to keep
There's
in mind.
that lane.
Please. Please go to sleep. Okay, cool. I have to keep in mind that that's what's going on. It's not because honestly, I struggle with mental health. I'm in a good run right now, doing well because of my understanding and peeling things apart. But without looking into it and really thinking about it, it can eat you alive, right? Finding understanding.
It's so easy. It's so easy to go to the other side of that if you don't take the time to listen, understand.
And people are heartless. Dude, people are heartless. They want us because of their jealous and envious ways and stuff that they struggle with that they can't figure out. They want to keep you there if they're there.
Yeah.
And when you struggle, that's them finally saying, yes. Yeah, that's what you get, right? That's what I was hoping
because
for.
that makes them feel more normal or better about themselves.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
It's kind of, they're alone.
What a miserable existence, dude. What a miserable existence cheering for the downfall of others. Brutal, man.
Well, it's like the guy
I couldn't imagine that being my mentality.
I couldn't either, man.
No way. But think about all the stuff we've done and how much we celebrate dude, it's funny because like I get just as hyped with guys that are in the success group. We had somebody went from 0 to 100K this year, right? Dude, we were celebrating so big at the
Yeah.
event yesterday for this dude, right? I was more excited about that than us setting our record, right?
No
And I'm like,
doubt, dude.
dude, look how hype he is, right? And I'm just like,
Yeah.
man, yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
right? And he was like, one day I'm gonna pass you, and I said, bro, I hope so. If that's
Yeah.
what you want, I hope so, because I'm gonna be asking you questions, right? Like that's the
Yeah.
mentality. It's so stupid to be in the other one and try to cheer for the
What
downfall of
what
others.
was it that got him from 0 to 100?
Oh, it's what I preach on all the time, and that's atmosphere. I'm big on education. Don't get me wrong, but I have a feeling that if you focus on it a lot, you can miss on the subtle nuances of your atmosphere and where you've placed yourself. If you
Mm.
focus on hey, I want to learn how to
Wow.
go, give me the textbook so that I can learn how to build my business into 10 employees that make 1.5 million. And you read
Yeah.
that, okay, but guess what you missed out on? The culture and how to
Yeah.
adjust yourself and your mindset in order to be accepting of that. How do you change your mindset from the top of the pyramid to the bottom of the pyramid, right? And you
Yeah.
do that by having examples of that around you. And that's really what it was, dude. Like I do a good job, right? The filtering system comes through me. I do a good job interviewing. We don't
Yeah.
just allow everybody in.
Yeah.
I will reach out if I see them on social media and see what they're posting about or if they're asking certain questions, and I pre-qual them just to like give them a
Yeah.
call. We did that while we were at the event. We were in the middle of the event and I called a guy. I
Yeah.
was like, hey, I think you would be a great fit. We would love for you to come in, test it out for a month, see if you like it. If it is, cool. There is a cost for setting that up. That's part of the filtering process. It's not an immense cost, but it's similar to Costco. It keeps guys out that are here just to
Yeah.
cause some shit.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and I think that that's really like, for me, that's what it is. It's, you know how hype you are. When you borrowed that 100K and borrowed that and went and bought that equipment, you were hyped to make it happen, right?
Oh,
So these guys are super hyped. So they're alert, they're listening,
yeah.
and they're consuming. We create an atmosphere where what they consume and the people who are their resources are the right resources and the right atmosphere. And they just
Yep.
live it. They go to work.
Yeah.
They went to work all summer. They marketed with our
That's
advice.
it.
They did
Yeah.
sales with our advice. Here they ended up, and they're like, this was pretty easy. And I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
was it? Because it took me
Yeah.
8 fucking years to get there.
Yeah.
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 Whoa.
It
Yeah.
took
It's easy.
it
It's easy
took it
because
took the
we care
people that
about
just
you.
helped you a lot of hard lessons.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's easy
That's
because
good.
we bottled down all the tough shit we learned,
Yeah.
created an atmosphere where that doesn't happen, guided people,
Yeah.
and here they are. And
Yeah.
now the biggest rewarding thing of all, these guys were so scared to buy a $25,000 blacktop banner edition seal coat rig, right?
Yeah.
They
Of course.
made, yeah, why not, right? They made over 10 times their investment in that rig
Yeah.
in 1
Yeah.
year.
When you don't understand until you understand, and sometimes that takes a leap of faith. Sometimes that takes making sure you're in the right atmosphere, getting solid sound advice from the right people. Buy that rig, and we will show you how to turn 25 into
Correct.
250.
Correct. Yeah.
But
I mean,
that person has to be humble. That person has to be willing, and they have to do the actionable things to get there. I mean, you're not going to do it for them.
bingo.
That's like,
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
thing
we
I
run into
talked
some
about.
issues with that. I learned a new
Yeah.
phrase while I was in Pittsburgh with you all, and it's called graduating somebody, right?
Yeah.
We had a member of BBSG that just didn't have the mentality. They weren't humble, and I like the guy a lot. I'm
Yeah.
going to be honest with you. I like him a lot. He's got a lot of pep. He's ambitious, but he just doesn't have what it takes to absorb and give back.
Yeah.
And it just didn't work. And we had to let him go, right? He just didn't have what it took. Now we have some other guys that are that way, and they did really, really well. And they're doing it at the
Yeah.
right pace for the right reasons, right?
Yeah.
And that makes a big difference for us
Yeah.
and the whole entire
That's
thing
awesome.
overall. But yeah, that's what did it, man. It's creating the right atmosphere and having somebody who has the characteristic traits that you just said. That's what brought those guys there. But it's helping people. To be honest with you, I've done it all. You have too. We've made plenty of money where we can buy whatever we want, go wherever
Oh,
we
dude.
want, have whatever we want, do whatever. There, that rewarded feeling is like taking it's like taking a shot. You feel good for a minute, and then you take
Yeah,
10
that's
more. That does not feel good
That's
anymore, right?
dude. No,
Or, it's
no,
the
and it's
same
not
thing.
sustainable either. It's not long term. It's
No, there's no
very
way.
short lived.
No way. It's bad for
You
you.
know,
But if we were taking health shots now, if we were taking,
right,
our
right.
greens, you take one, you're like, oh
Well,
man, I feel good. And every time
I
you do
feel
it, you
good.
feel even better, right? Like,
Well, and what those things look like: tapping into community, reading books,
mm-hmm.
getting involved with your community. I mean,
Yep.
atmosphere, right? Like
Yeah.
not
And not
just
everybody learns the
wishing
same
for it,
way.
praying for it, huh?
Not everybody learns the same way, right? And
No,
that's what
man,
we've
no,
understood. Yeah. And I
yeah,
think that's what TCS has done really well and does well for me. I love the speakers, hearing them.
yep,
I'm going to take
yep.
notes. I take notes during the podcast. I probably never look at them again. I write it down because I know, because of my mentors, that if I write it down, that has a better chance of sticking in my brain.
That's right.
But some people enjoy the calls. Some people enjoy podcasts, right?
Yeah,
Some people enjoy
sure.
reading. So we just try to be diverse so that
Yeah,
we can figure out what they like the most of
yeah.
and
How they consume.
mix
How
it
they,
up. Yeah. I do the
yeah,
best, and you know this. I do the best when I'm in a conversation with somebody. That's why the
yep,
podcast exists. I absorb the most. I understand the most. It adds to me. I'm terrible at reading. I hate doing emails. I hate doing all that stuff. I don't learn from any
yeah,
of that stuff, even the
yeah,
textbooks or whatever.
yeah,
So I get it, man. But being around people who can pour into you, and I don't say that very often. I hate saying pour into you, but they pour into you because they're the right fit. Think about it this way: me and you, right? There's one of our friends is Daniel Wright.
yep.
Daniel Wright and I speak almost every day, every other day. I've known Brian longer than I know Daniel, and Brian and I talk once or twice a week, but not like Daniel and I, because
Yep.
Daniel and I connect, right? The way that we consume each other's atmosphere connects really
Yeah.
well. Where you and
Yep.
Brian connect better than I and Brian do, because you guys connect really well, right? So it's not that like that person isn't for me. It's just
Mhm.
these relationships are all different levels, and that's okay, right? We have
Yeah.
to understand that that's okay. Yeah, I still get value from being a friend with Kevin Gray.
Yeah.
I still
Right.
get value from being a friend with Daniel Wright, right? I'm
Yeah.
excited just as much to see Kevin Gray when I see him as I am
Yeah.
Daniel Wright, even though
Yeah. Yeah.
after a day or two with Daniel, I need to take a break sometimes, you know. But
He is an intense dude.
he's intense,
But,
dude. He's intense, and I need it.
but
That's
you
the
talk about
only
somebody
thing.
doing the actions. Like he goes
Yep.
to work, man.
Yep. Yeah, man.
He consumes and he puts it into practice.
He does. Yep. And I
mean-
mean, I think what we've come to terms with, and what you can probably agree with me, we're all running races. We all have different goals, but we're running them at different paces for different reasons. But we all want to
Dude.
improve our lives.
Yeah.
Once you realize that that's the measuring stick, is how happy
That's
you
the
are
measuring stick.
and how happy your friends are, and that's what you shoot for, the whole dynamic of everything changes. Because every
Yep.
Facebook thing that we see on these big groups, right, where the guys are coming out on stage and smoke shooting up, and then they're in a huge room, right, with all these people, everything you see is increase sales, increase marketing, increase this. This is how we're going to get you to here, right? And then they're
Yeah.
rolling up in Lambos, shoo, 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 shoo. But meanwhile, you'll see us, right, at our stuff, and we're hugging, we're sitting down, hanging out, shooting the breeze, right, and learning how we can help each other have a happier life, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the sweet sauce between Blacktop Banner and TCS. People from the outside don't see that though, Kev. You know, they see me hanging out with TCS, where a lot of the guys don't look like me or sound like me or talk like me. Like, what's going on there, right?
Yeah.
And I think people have the wrong impression. And they have the wrong impression because the majority of the world has shown them that it's this. But until you're in and give it a shot,
Yeah.
that's not the same thing.
That's right. Yeah.
So the dynamic of that is you and I have very unique journeys, and you've been sharing them a lot lately with the Rock Bottom podcast. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because I'm very excited. You're one of those guys that if it didn't work or it had a short life, that don't mean I'm not doing it again. I'm going to do it until it sticks. I'm going to do it till it's good. And if I like it, I'm going to do it for a while. If I don't like it, it had a season. Let's figure out what we're going to do next. I'm really excited because the Rock Bottom podcast seems to fit into our conversations and what you do and what you're about at your core very, very well. I'm incredibly proud of the Blacktop Banner Edition seal coating unit produced in partnership with with KM International and available in both 550 and 700 gallon versions. Custom built on the same frame as their bulletproof hot boxes, I work closely with KM to design what I believe is the best seal coating unit on the market, a unit designed by a contractor for contractors. Learn more about the unit and to see a walkthrough of the entire unit by visiting kminternational.com.
If you're serious about efficiency and performance, listen up. The Craftco SuperShot 125 is not just a melter, it's a strategic pavement maintenance advantage. Quick startups, fume-free, automatic agitator shutoff, a splash-proof lid, and pumping on demand, these features are essential for any serious asphalt maintenance contractor. So don't settle for mediocrity. Elevate your game with the Craftco SuperShot line of melters by visiting craftco.com today.
In my opinion, Dynapac CC900G roller is the best roller on the market for driveway and small parking lot paving contractors. The seismic technology in these rollers is unbeatable for the smoothness and compaction they provide, and I'd choose the Dynapac CC900G over the little yellow roller that you're used to seeing every single time. But don't just take my word for it. Check them out in person at Pavex and World of Asphalt, or visit Dynapac.com to find a dealer near you.
Hey Blacktop Banner fans, this is Michael with Aquaphalt. Say goodbye to potholes and roadway damage without the need for large crews, heavy equipment, or toxic chemicals. Aquaphalt is the only permanent repair material for asphalt and concrete that uses water. And installation is simple. Just pour, add water, and tamp. It's that easy. An Aquaphalt repair can be open to traffic immediately and fully sealed within 24 hours. Plus, the product is backed by a 3-year warranty and made in the USA. Visit aquaphalt.com. That's AQUAPHALT.com to learn more.
In the past year, Jobber has been our CRM of choice at Wiscode, and it's made our world exponentially better efficiency-wise. The request to quote and quote to invoice process is seamless and professional. The scheduling aspect keeps us on point and the team leaders moving throughout the day from project to project, while the timesheet feature tracks the team members' hours. For our small seal coating company, it has helped build the solid foundation we can scale from. Jobber is now a sponsor of Blacktop Banter and helps bring this show to you. With this partnership, Jobber is offering an exclusive savings to BB listeners of 20% off for 6 months. To take advantage of this, find the Jobber link in the show description and get to improving your process today.
Hi contractors, it's Kyla from Wiscoat. We use Stencil Plus for all of our pavement marking stencils. Alphabet letters, numbers, directional arrows, handicap markings, you name it. We use it and we get it all from Stencil Plus. Right now, for a limited time, you can save 10% on your stencil order by using code BB10 during checkout at stencilplus.com or by calling 877-372-6055.
Contractors, you need to make it easy for potential customers to reach you. Get a custom phone number from the 800 Pavement Network and plaster it on the side of your trucks and rigs, and I guarantee you'll see increases in leads and jobs booked. Get yours by calling 1-800-728-3636.
Yeah, I mean that's that's why I wanted to do it. And a lot of it goes to me finding out, maybe finally realizing my purpose, man. I was in treatment back in May. I got, going through a divorce, the business was growing. I've got my kids for the first time in my life, 3.5 days a week by myself, trying to navigate what it's like to be a single dad, running a business, going through a divorce, whatever. I'm predispositioned genetically,
It actually mimics up to your football career, right? You're looking
What's
at
that?
this. I said it mimics your football career so much. You had
It does. And
I had this vision. Something out of your control happens.
Yeah.
To where it's taken away.
Yeah.
We get this much farther again. Something happens again.
And it almost everything was kind of taken away in that moment back in May, and there are consequences for what I did. I got on a path that I've been fighting for about 30 years, and I probably got to the worst point of that path back then. But my God, when I got pulled over and I saw that guy flashing his gun at me, and then I eventually put the gun in the back of my head, and I knew I was going to jail at least for that night. I said, "Thank God," because I'd been trying to get away or get out, find a way to stop, whatever you want to call it, for a long damn time, and I didn't know how. I didn't have the tools. I didn't have the resources. I'd been trying to figure it out on my own because
I was just gonna say that. Yep.
I'm Superman, and I can do all these other things in my life that I've
yeah.
succeeded at. I've overcome. I've faced these adversities. I'm still here. I have a successful business. Blah 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 blah. Like I can handle. Surely I can handle this too. Well, I couldn't. And so when I knew that there were getting ready to be massive consequences come into my life, I was like, thank God. I said, maybe this will finally be the time where I can figure this out. And in that moment, I didn't know what that was.
Mhm.
But I said, you know what? I've been fighting this long enough. I'm tired of it. I don't want this life. I don't want any part of this life. I'm going to go to treatment. I'm going to go do something I've never been willing to do or ready enough to do or at a rock bottom enough
Mhm.
to actually do. So like, I got to try something different this time because I've tried it the other 1,500 ways and those don't work, because all of those, by the way, I was in control of.
Yeah.
And I said what it was going to be and how it was going to look. Or
Before you get into it, isn't that crazy though? Because every other aspect of our life where we know that we needed help, you and I would reach out to somebody that would have succeeded in that area.
It's such an isolating disease. I mean,
brutal.
here's the problem with, and let's just talk about what it is. The elephant in the room, it's alcoholism and it's addiction. We talked about earlier in this podcast about how we don't teach people how to be entrepreneurs, or we don't teach people how to really manage money, or live that kind of life, or that is even an option. Like it's surprising and interesting to me, and now it's not so interesting to me why we don't educate. Why don't we talk about alcoholism and addiction in the classroom? I mean, I started drinking and smoking weed when I was 11 years old, dude. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like that's 5th grade. Like, why aren't we teaching this to our kids? Why are we educating? Why are we normalizing it?
Yeah.
Because, by the way, almost 40% of our population deals with some aspect of that or a mental disorder that we don't want to talk about. Oh, those are the
man.
black
They're
sheep.
making movies. They're making music videos of everybody pouring it up. Doing all that stuff.
You can't watch anything on TV without a Bud Light commercial coming on.
Yeah.
So, I've figured, and the reason they like to keep 30-40% of the population in alcoholism, addiction, mental, health, is
profitable.
It benefits the system. Big
It's
pharma,
profitable.
big business, big government, and on and on. It keeps 30% of the society dumbed down and not capable of thinking their own thoughts and paying taxes and just basically walking around being their robots. So
that's what I was going to say.
it's easy to not want to normalize it, but I think that's a huge problem in our society and probably in our world. Hopefully, and now, what's cool? I am starting to see some traction that people are starting to speak up against it. You're starting to finally get some celebrities and people that actually have some influence talking about it or saying, "Hey, I'm going to live this."
A lot, dude.
Yeah, like just recently, and it's like, hell yeah,
like
here we
not
go.
drinking is cool.
Right.
Like, that's coming.
Think about it.
That's happening.
Think about that feeling of aloneness. We talked about, this is one of the hardest things to reach out and say I need help with. How alone we felt with our businesses before we met each other. Like, when you get trapped in that feeling of being alone, you don't know where the hell to turn. You don't know who to trust. You don't know.
All you know is you don't want to feel it. All you know is you don't want to feel it. And the best and most immediate resource for that is something to alter your mind.
Yes.
Right.
That's it. Self-medication, dude. Yeah. Oh,
I
don't want to feel that way, or I don't want to go to work today, so I'll take something that's coffee. Give me something 10 times stronger than coffee.
Oh, hell yeah. Something that just takes me away. Right.
Oh, I got to work 18 hours a day. And where I don't really
they didn't used to have that. Like at some point there wasn't alcohol. Right. And heavy alcohol or mind-altering drugs or anything. There wasn't any of that. So what did people have to do? Oh, they fixed their problems.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they communicated.
They communicated.
They talked to each other. They talked through it. They worked out their problem. Yeah. But no, man, the reason I started the Rock Bottom podcast, and when I was in treatment, when I came to the realization, I said, I thought there was a decent chance I might get kicked out of my company, which kind of ended up happening to some extent. But while I was in it, I said, I need to sell out of my business. I need to get away from it. It's gotten to a place where I don't understand or have a healthy concept of boundaries. I don't know. There's no off switch for me. Like I want to grow and grow and grow. No matter, it just,
It's hard.
I'd almost become fixated on the success more, at least later in my career than I did, because I saw the results and like it became appealing to me, and we started getting popular on social media, and it made me feel good. I thought that I was important. Ego,
Yeah, because we've had
pride.
thoughts. Well, at some point, nobody wanted me, right?
Oh, yeah.
So then you're like, oh, people
Yeah,
like
dude.
me. Okay, I want more.
Somebody gave up on me on day 3 of my life.
Yep, for sure. For sure.
And I never thought that affected me, because I never just thought
Don't
it never
focus on
affected
it.
me. But,
Yeah, we don't
but
focus
I
on it.
guarantee you there's somewhere in my guttural instincts and in my DNA, in the whatever that did to my nervous system, being taken away from my biological mother did to me,
Oh,
that
for
there's
sure.
absolutely a piece of that inside me. It's inside of you too, bro.
Yeah.
That's why we're not too dissimilar in a lot of ways.
I was explaining to somebody the other day that sometimes I'll be driving down the road and all I want to be able to do is call my mom.
Yeah.
Right. And not a woman that took care of me, but a mother.
Yeah.
And I'll be driving down the road just saying, I really want to call my mom. And I don't have that. Right.
Yeah.
So why would there be a need at almost 40 years old? I'm 4 behind you, by the way. That why would there be that? Why would that even exist for somebody who never had it and never had that feeling of calling their mother and their mom saying, it's all right, son, come home. I'll cook for you. You stay here. We'll get it figured out together. Why would somebody want that has never experienced it before? My brain goes there. Same concept with you, man. It's the same thing.
Yeah, it's interesting, man.
It's in you.
Well, what happened for me in treatment is I finally slowed my ass down enough to actually think my own thoughts and feel my own feelings and tap into my own spirit and my own heart and my own conscience for 35 days that I hadn't done, because I was just reactive to everything all the time. Like I was, until I really started getting, to where I was using quite a bit there in the end. Like I was a healthy dude. I mean, I did 75 hard. I lost 60 pounds. I was to where I was running 15 or 20 miles pretty effortlessly in the woods. I mean, Keith Jr. and I went out and ran 40 miles in 4 days out in 3 national parks with 5,000 feet of elevation each. I mean,
he calls that Tuesday, but whatever.
Yeah, no doubt. He does now, for damn sure. Screw that guy, by the way.
Yeah, for sure. I actually hate his haircut too.
But you know what? He was like us one day with his running,
Completely.
and it just took day after day after day after day.
He also went through hell. Right.
He went through hell. Yes.
So, I mean,
And he says the hell he goes through on his long runs are a hell of a lot easier than the hell he's been through on Earth. He's like, but I was in, dude, I still, even as successful as I got with my business and how great of a culture and atmosphere and brand, whatever you want to call it, we had created ADC Paving. Like, I obviously still wasn't fulfilled. Like something was still missing, dude.
For sure.
And I never recognized that maybe I wasn't living to my highest potential or purpose. And I was sitting in a treatment facility, and my mom and dad came in. It was family weekend or whatever. And she was like, "What are you going to do next?" And I think this is when I first told her, I was like, I'm going to let them buy me out of the business. I need to find something else to do. This is obviously not it. And at that moment, it was like, it's just not a healthy fit for me. I don't know how to make it a healthy fit. Because I don't understand my boundaries well enough. And she said, because at that point, I had starting to feel good again. I was like, I want to help the recovery community, or I want to start a gym. It's basically a gym and AA all in the same place, and do community outreach, and have a music and cultural program, and do food banks, and do meal planning, like have this 5 or 6 entity kind of, but the gym be the hub of it. But it'd be basically all rooted around recovery. Right. So again, here I am in a fucking treatment facility thinking about how I can help other people. Like, who does, like, and Cam Roberts brought that to my attention when I was on his Stripe It Like It's Hot a month or so back. He was like, you came right out of treatment and got your ass on a podcast trying to help other people. And it's like, what is that? And then when I was in my treatment, I was in there with 31 other men, and there were 32 other men and women on the other side. And somehow, some way, I'm just showing up how I show up. Like, I got kind of deemed as this leader kind of person within this treatment facility. I'm like, all I'm doing is showing up and telling my truth and being vulnerable and being engaged. And I'm getting up and taking a shower every morning and putting on a dress. Like if I'm going to I've been taught if I'm going to show up for something, I said, if I can't show up to save my life in a fashion that looks like I'm fucking serious about it, then this probably isn't going to work. So like I was in there putting collared shirts on and like showing up, and I was like, I'm going to die if I don't figure this out this time. But going, like, my mom, she reminded me at that family day, she's like, well, you do, I was raised Catholic in the Catholic Church. My mom's still a pretty devout Catholic. She, I was an altar boy, all the things. And she was like, the priest, and it's after I told her the story about maybe opening that gym or something, or becoming a public speaker of some sort, or going and talking to people in institutions or jails. Or I was like, I want to help people with this because this disease is nasty and people don't know enough about recovery and it's not normalized. She was like, the priest would always, even at a young age, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade, he would always ask you to do the readings at church. She's like, you've always had this presence. People have always listened. You've somehow, your presence, the way you conduct yourself, carry, like, you have this presence that people pay attention to. She's like, like, and that, she's like, I think you have a gift there to speak to others. I was like, and I never believed any of this shit because I never thought I was good enough to do anything. Like,
well, we also fought against the grain, right? We want cars, man.
Well, and every time we
vets,
get close,
bro, I want Mercedes, I want vets, I want in-ground pool, I want this mansion because that's what's cool, right? And that's what
I had all
geared
that
towards.
shit. None of that stuff feels good, by the way.
That's not your natural instinct. That's not what you're meant for.
No, dude.
Right?
That didn't fill me up one bit, dude. If nothing else, it put more stress on me figuring out I'm gonna have to pay for all that shit. You know what I mean? Like, oh God.
For sure.
But so that's why I started the Rock Bottom podcast. I don't think there's enough people talking about mental health.
Definitely
I don't think there's enough people talking about alcoholism, addiction.
For sure.
If my mom, is telling me 40 years later that she thinks I have a gift of being able to connect with people and tell a story and communicate, and people might listen, and I actually might believe that this time and say, oh, maybe you're right, Mom. Maybe I am good enough to do something like that. Because, by the way, no matter what I did my entire life, even football, I was like, I'm never going to make the NFL. There's no way, because every time something would get good or I'd be right there on the brink, I would either fuck it up or something would happen.
For sure.
Self-sabotage every time, or something tragic would happen. And I couldn't understand that it was a lesson.
Yeah,
and it wasn't just
being molded.
Right.
Yeah, we fight against the grain because the world's trying to funnel us into thinking that purpose is around what it's showing us. And it completely is not. You have to look at yourself and understand yourself. And your mom loves you. So your mom is going to be like, you've always been like this. Like, why don't you do something around that? Right.
Yeah.
And I always asked questions, dude. Like I probably annoyed the shit out of people as a kid, dude. Because I asked a million friggin' questions. Guess what? That's what I'm good at. Guess what?
Look how that's helping you today.
I was just going to say, guess what that fits into? Being an interviewer for a podcast, right? Like, doing
leveling your atmosphere up, leveling up the people you get to be around, because you show up humble, you shut up, you ask questions, and you listen.
Yeah, you cheer.
There's no pride or ego involved with that. You're just
I got a question for you, because I ask questions, right?
All right.
People are going to, and you and I are honest, dude, and that's what I love about being around you. People are going to hear this, and they already have a predetermined perception of Kevin Gray because they've seen Kevin Gray for the last 8 years on the internet. And Kevin Gray held himself a certain way, right? And was doing things a certain way. Tell us about that. Because it's going to be hard because people are already, and people have perceptions of me for sure in the same regard. I hope they're good. Might not be good. I might blow it up and be like, yeah, I figured it out. I was actually obnoxious, right? Or whatever the fuck it would be. But
Yeah.
people are going to say that. They already have perceptions of Kevin Gray, and now we have this version of Kevin Gray, which I enjoyed the old one. I really enjoy this one because he's thoughtful and he thinks, right? And now we have stuff to communicate about really, really well.
Yeah.
Are you apologetic for being the old version of Kevin Gray that imploded, or however you wanted to put it? Because I feel that. I feel that when I see you, like, dang, that who I was and who I was. Probably your personality was exerted with what you were chasing. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
That had to been off-putting to some people because, like I said, I like this version a lot better. The one that's like, dude, none of that shit means anything. I found out at the bottom what really means what it should be.
Yeah.
Talk about that a little bit for me.
Everybody that's around me, like, man, you're a different dude. And like, I'm not sure what it is yet because it's so new. This version of me is so new still. I'm 7 months into this journey from a rock bottom. So I'm still trying to navigate but I'm beginning to be much more like, or living the way that you interact with people. I'm shutting up. I'm listening. I like being present with people.
Mm-hmm.
I like hearing their side. I like understanding them. I'm curious about them. Like before, it was the me show, bro. Like I was no way I would have been talking to you for an hour and a half if I weren't like looking at my phone and thinking about what I got to do next or what deal I'm going to do 20 minutes after we get off, or I'm going to go drive my Corvette, or I wouldn't be able to have been present with you in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
And although I may have done some things very well in my business, there were periods, man. There was a long period there where I did figure some stuff out and I did become a pretty good leader, and we did have a pretty great culture, and we did have some things clicking. But I'm not sure that the lead and look, I've talked to former employees and team members and even colleagues and peers, and like there was that period, man, where you kind of had it all together.
Mm-hmm. And it was a formula.
There was,
there's a formula to get you close.
There is. And by the way, when I started using, and I started becoming ashamed of that, and I was like, if my friends, my community, my atmosphere, my TCS, a lot of it is my TCS peers, or even people in my business or people like you, like I keep showing up like this, they're going to figure me out. Yep. So I isolated. And for the last 2.5, 3 years, it was all about me because I pulled away. I pulled from all the things that kept me going in a forward and positive trajectory. I isolated from. Mm-hmm. And then I was fucked.
Yeah, it screws you. Like the version of you that was chasing profit to buy Corvettes and everything was the me show. And then when you get ashamed, you pull away and it's still the me show, but it's the pity, like the shameful me show.
The guilt, shame, remorse show.
Yeah.
And then I'm not getting any good information. I'm not around my peers. I'm not around my top contractor community. I'm not around I'm not even active on social media.
Mm-hmm. I know. It took me 6 months to get a message back from you.
Look at our DMs the last 2 years compared to the first 6, bro. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I can't. He's gonna sniff me out. He's gonna figure something.
I already did. I already had it figured out when we wrote an article together, and I was on your ass. And I was
yeah.
You're like, dude, damn, dude. I was like, Kevin is fucking on it, and we talked about this, and why the hell is he not on it, right?
Yeah.
So then it was like, okay, hey, what's up? Then I heard crickets. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Either I'm not good enough or something's up with Kev, right?
No, it wasn't never you, bro.
And you try to do what you can do, but it is, man. It's what it comes down to, right? And what you have found out, and I have a feeling what you found out in treatment, and you see it in me, right? My highest priority is, I hate saying helping people, but being in a position to be a really good friend that cares, like with
Yeah.
everybody. That's what I want to do. If you're inviting to that, cool. Then we can be friends. If you're not, that's cool too. I have plenty of opportunity to make good friends with a lot of other people,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And maybe timing isn't everything. There's been times where people have been like, forget this guy. And then later on, through my content or just knowing me, they're like, hey, what's
Yeah.
up with this? And then we become really good friends. But that's really the key, I think, is genuinely realizing that caring about people brings out the best version of yourself and puts you on your path or direction.
Yeah, if you can just show up like that and live like that, and then implement that, whatever your goal or vision or dreams may be, or the kind of person you want to be, or the legacy you want to leave, figure out what those actions look like, and do those along with what you just talked about. Everything else works out, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Nothing else is a big deal.
No.
It's really not.
Think about all that cool shit that I was saying I got to do earlier, right? I get to go hang out with Jocko. We sponsor a car. Will James, get to hang out with him for a while. Became friends with other NFL players, right? Get to be an amazing situation. I got to be consulted with an actor, well-known actor in Hollywood, on a movie about line striping coming up last year, right? I'm like,
Yeah.
Guess how much my total revenue at Wisco played into that?
Zero.
Right.
And how much better did that stuff feel than any amount of revenue?
Bro.
Who cares?
Dude, it's a hard thing to get to. The only way
It is a hard thing, dude.
I don't
It's
want
hard.
bad shit to happen to people. I don't. But
No.
Everybody who realizes what you and I have realized has been through it, going through a tough shit, right?
Yeah.
And if I can help them avoid that by having a heart-to-heart conversation and speaking about what I know, I want to do that, because that's the biggest help. I don't want people to go through what I went through, or to go through what you went through, or anybody that I know has went through hard things. I want to help them. And by being a genuine friend that shows that you care is probably going to speak to them more than if you weren't and you were being flashy and always talking about monetary shit. They're not going to trust that as much as when they know that you care about them genuinely.
That's it. Yeah. And by the way, like, I'm not saying I don't have financial aspirations also.
I do.
But yeah, of course you do.
30% growth this year at Wiscoat.
Yeah. Awesome.
Hit my goal.
Yeah. But look, dude, if you show up and do the next right thing and have that kind of human connectivity, and are always trying to level up your atmosphere, everything else in your life, including the financial piece of it, are all going to become a byproduct of that.
Yeah, man.
100%. Brian Hess says it all the time. You can't show up every day and do the right thing and get the wrong results. It's impossible.
People don't believe what you and I are talking about, They don't believe that. They don't believe that that's what we're about. They don't believe that that's what we're doing. Because 98% of the world has said that and not backed it up. Right.
Yeah. I'm 15 years into my journey here. Mm-hmm. I mean, my true professional and more importantly, personal well-being and that adventure of my life,
I think there are some people probably who are still holding their breath, waiting for me to fuck somebody over. I'd be like, see, told you that's what it was about. That's never going to happen. Sorry. I'm not keeping up a facade. This is just how I am. Right. So rather than hold on to that, they should probably let go and give me a phone call. Let's be some friends. Let's figure out what we can do. Because I love to have business success. I love to have life success. I love to hang out. Like
100%.
It all is enjoyable to me. Yeah. Right.
It's really it's really about having the options to be able to connect with other humans mostly. Or your family. Like, that's really all that matters at the end of the day.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
and unfortunately, you have to have resources to do that in today's world. Like,
yeah, for sure. For sure. We did the KM event yesterday. If KM didn't have resources and I didn't have resources, I wouldn't have had such a good time hanging out and beating Kyle Schoen's ass in the last race of the day, But, I mean, for me, I also realized I've been saying,
there's a kid that shut up and listened.
For sure. And he's figuring it out. Well, for sure. And he's not having to go through tragedies, right, to get there, because he's absorbed knowledge.
And so far, so good. His ego's in check. He's humble.
Yep, he was able to make himself humble versus get humbled.
Yeah,
right? which is a
someone had to hit me in the knees with a baseball bat.
Kyle's looking fit. Kyle's looking fit. I mean, I don't want him to hit me with anything. Anything I don't want him to hit me with. Where can people check out the Rock Bottom podcast?
Oh man, we go live every day. We were doing every morning at 8:30 a.m. Eastern, but now that I've, thank God, gotten my kids back in my life after not for 6 months, dude. It's 8:30 most days. The days I got to take them to school, I'm going to take them to school because
Cool. I like that.
yeah. So we're on. I do Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. It's Rock Bottom Podcast. I
And
should
Kevin
just
Gray.
be
And
Kevin
we
Gray.
can find
Kevin Gray on Facebook. I'm Kevin Gray _TCS on Instagram. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So
What would be one overall piece of advice, Kevin? Like you and I have talked about a lot, and there's a lot packed into this one. You can pull from this conversation or pull from whatever, but one general overall piece. Your life story, even to this point, it's not finished, is one of my favorite because I've been able to be part of it. I've been able to be like ignored by you,
yeah.
along with a lot of other people. I've been able to us have that spark and excitement together right away. And then
Right.
I get to see this aspect of it. I am very, very, very excited for the rest of my journey, being able to witness Kevin Gray's journey.
Yeah.
Right. So far to this point, you've learned a lot, you've experienced a lot. What would be the overall piece of advice that you would give somebody about life?
I don't, let me just say this. I just want to let you know how appreciative I am to have you back in my life. Like, it's been really cool the last few months getting to talk. I mean, I've talked with you more in the last few months than I did in the last 2 years.
For sure.
Easily.
For sure.
And it's been a blessing.
Oh, thanks, man.
And it's been a light in my life. I mean, if I'm just going off the advice I could give someone, the thing that has worked for me the most in the last 7 months, because I'm going to just say this, I tried life for 42 years prior to these past 7 months, and it never ended great. There was a lot of good, there was a lot of bad, there's a lot of great even, but just figuring out how to live with humility and to just shut up and listen and be present, man.
Yeah, even when you're alone, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely when you're alone.
Yeah.
Because when you and that's something I was terrible. I used to preach about it all the time when I'd be running a TCS call or whatever, and I wasn't even living it myself. It was like, find 15-20 minutes a day where you can be quiet with yourself to think your own thoughts, feel your own feelings, listening to the things going on in your heart.
Mm-hmm.
That's where your happiness lies.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you don't stop to do that, bro, you never find it.
No. And the world has designed devices and things to keep your attention, so you don't do that.
Yeah, that would be AKA the devil.
Yeah, for sure. 100% for sure. Yeah. The thing is, to go from regurgitating advice to being able to speak advice from experience is a huge change. And the Kevin Gray that I've had now recently in my life is the most genuine version of the Kevin Gray that I've ever met. Right.
Wow.
And I'm very, very appreciative of that because now I know when I talk to Kevin, I can talk about whatever. I'm going to get a straight answer, and it's either going to be awesome or it's going to be, oh shit. But I want that. I want that in my life because to me, that's where I'm going to get the most value from our friendship and us being together. So I really, really appreciate you coming on, man, and talking about it and sharing it for sure. Like pleasure. I said, I'm really excited to see what we got. We're going to be hanging out a lot this winter. We're going to be doing Pavex. We're going to be all kinds of other places together.
Yes.
Very, very excited about that, man.
I can't wait, dude.
It's going to be fun. Yeah. All right. So you got Kevin's social media and where to find him. And as he said, to find the Rock Bottom podcast, which I'm going to be on sometime soon, I think.
Anytime, brother.
No. You tell me what time. I ain't doing no takeovers. You tell me
tomorrow?
When we're going to be there.
What are you doing tomorrow?
Probably 8 podcasts.
Yeah.
The Blacktop Banner Success Group is our group here at Blacktop Banter. A lot of that comes from Top Contractor School, right? We have members there from both sides. So although we do talk a lot about life and atmosphere and like equipment follies and troubleshooting and these types of things, Top Contractor School has a great curriculum that we feed off of as well here, because honestly, there's guys that want to know how to increase their top line revenue to provide a better, secure, safe life for their family so they can sleep better at night. And that's what we care about here overall most at Blacktop Banner Success Group. So the fact that I'm able to have my friend Kevin on, and we're able to talk about those things, and then we're able to do that has been a great symbiotic relationship. Don't you think, Kev?
Yeah. I do, man, and I think where we're the most similar in our two entities or brands, whatever you may be, is like we're trying our biggest the problem we are trying to find the solution to is how to give these men, women their lives back.
Yeah.
And I'm a prime example. Like,
or just get it for the first time,
or just get their life for the first time. Yeah, 100%. You know, going from being an employee with a tax ID number to someone that actually owns and operates and leads a business and their life.
I love telling my story, especially to Brian, like when we were on the podcast, and to people we know, because they're like, I designed my business to create enough revenue to free me up for half the year so that I could do Blacktop Banner. And they're like, well, how much is that? And I'm like, a little bit over $500,000. And then people are like, that frees up your whole, like, yeah, dude, I have everything in my backpack, never really wanted anything. We got a nice house on it. It's cheap to live here in Wisconsin. I don't need any more than that. Well, don't you want more than that? Sure. But I also want more of the other 6 months that I can build Blacktop Banner and have fun with my friends and have a good story. That's the key. That's the key. We help people create the lives that fit what they love most about their lives. And if we can get them to understand, and to some people, don't get me wrong, Kev, it is a yacht in the Mediterranean. It is Corvettes. That gives them sheer joy, and they enjoy sharing it with their friends. Yeah. Then we're going to help you do that. But if it's not, if it's 6 months to try to start a podcast or 6 months to go do American Red Cross work across the country, dude, we want to have that as part of our journey and story as well. And that's why we're here. To be honest,
those are options also. You know,
those are options also.
It's about options, brother.
Yeah, both of them are going to take work. I don't have to tell you guys. They're both going to take work.
And they're both going to be a journey. You know, I mean, and it's fun. That's another piece of advice, man. Just embrace the ride, because you get a lot. It's so cliche. People say this all the time, but I'm finally starting to understand it and believe it. Is like, enjoy the ride, enjoy the process, enjoy the journey. I'm 42. I'm and the things I've done to my body, I'm probably more than halfway, through the ride. So like,
thank God we didn't have cameras around for that stuff.
Whew, boy. Yeah, that'd have to be on the dark web or something.
Yeah, well, that's called OnlyFans at this point.
That's right.
Dude, one thing I will say, if you're going to talk to Kevin, one of my favorite points is Kevin talking about comparison being a thief, and how comparing your journey and what you build to other people and striving for that is robbing you. I know that it's one of my favorite conversations with Kevin. I found that early in my career, and I believe that was because it was part of my journey at that point, right? Some people don't find it out till later. Sometimes they find it at the ripe old age of 41 or 42. Sometimes you find out when you're a young man at 30 and still in your 30s. But it's a true statement, and I really embrace the fact that this version of Kevin Gray that you guys have had the chance to listen to, and that I have in my life, understands that, and our peer group and our people around us and understand that as well. So it's fantastic. Like I said, the Blacktop Banner Success Group, you can access that at blacktopbanner.com to get the information, and then you would reach out to me, and we'd set it up and see if it's a great fit and how we can do that. TCS has a very similar process, and you can go there to topcontractorschool.com and start that process there as well. You'll interact with Kevin or somebody else from the team, and they will get you in the loop. Both sides have ways for you to try it out and understand and talk to other people so that you can get a good feel. It's not a heavy commitment right away. And you'll find that as you go on and be part of it, you'll want to commit more, because they're great cultures and great atmospheres, so with great people on both sides. So that will do it for today. Kevin Gray, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, brother. Really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. No worries. All right. For myself here in the frozen tundra of Wisconsin, and for Kevin in beautiful tropical Kentucky, where the palm trees sway and fiddles play.
Yes.
This is Blacktop Banner, where we speak asphalt. Peace. Hey everybody, Marvin here from Blacktop Banter, and if you enjoy the podcast and what we've been bringing to the industry, you can support us through a one-time or recurring donation at blacktopbanter.com. There we have a support tab. You click that and choose your path from there. If you listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please do us a favor and leave a review there for us as well. As always, we speak asphalt, and thanks for your support. This episode of Blacktop Banter is brought to you by Crafco, the world's leading manufacturer of packaged pavement preservation materials and equipment for the asphalt industry. Learn more at crafco.com.